let's do a palate cleanser. Okay, let's talk about something I'm not sold on. Okay, I'm just going to be honest. With any game, feature, launcher, anything, to me, the chief question should be, for one, who wants this? And paired with that, do our customers want this? Like, those should be the two primary concerns whenever you do anything. Oh, you want to add a multiplayer mode. Do our players want this? If so, great. If not, who does want this? And will it cause friction with our core fan base? You know, if you're thinking, hey, we could add NFTs to our games. Okay, well, who wants that? Do our fans want that? The core gamers? No? Okay, well, who does want it? Crypto bros. Okay, not many of them are buying these games, but maybe they'll buy this. Will it cause damage to the core fan base? Yes. Okay, so maybe it's not worth doing. But you should at the very least constantly be asking yourself, who does this appeal to? Does this help us or hurt us with our core fan base and customer base? And then evaluate whether it's worth pursuing at that point. One of the upcoming features for Assassin's Creed is what's being called sort of colloquially as the Animus hub, but internally it seems like the leaks are saying it's called Infinity. It's really vague. No one really knows what this looks like. So I want to be clear at the outset that this is all rumors, speculation, leaks, this and that. This could change totally. It could be way worse than this. It could be way better than this, or they could cancel it and walk away. You never really know. But at the very least, this conversation we're having hopefully can help us get a grasp of what the goals are. And if it is something that we do not like, which spoiler alert, whoops, wrong button. Spoiler alert. I think this is going to be something that not many of us are like thrilled by. Maybe that feedback can get back to the right people within Ubisoft and they can make more informed choices. Whether I wouldn't expect them to cancel it based off of videos on YouTube or clips or streams or whatever. But I think at the very least, if it can lead them to changing their tactics with it a little bit, that could be beneficial. So we'll say this. As always, I've said before, these things should be carefully considered because a poorly implemented monetization scheme can do way more brand damage than good. You know, I don't think there's been I guess maybe one of you guys in chat could tell me, can you think of a time where there's been a monetization scheme introduced into a game that has helped it get better? Maybe CSGO with like the skin lottery thing, or the ability to sell skins like that. Maybe that could be an example. Star Citizen. I mean, it has helped them make the game and build the game, you know, with the 700 something million they've raised. But I don't think these things typically help. It's something you do once you have the fan base and the customers, and then you go in there and you can sell additional stuff on the side. But I think that this is something that should be done after you have the fan base and you have the customers already set up. But Joe Raptor, our dear friend, diehard fan of Dragon Ball, as we all know, he has said, here's everything we know about the hub. It's formally called AC Infinity. Every new AC game will launch from this hub, including mainline titles, remakes, but also the upcoming multiplayer projects and potentially smaller experiences. So my expectation for this, just based off of what I've seen, I don't have it installed because I don't have 500 gigs to spare. But you know the COD HQ app? Some of you will, I'm sure, but others might not if you don't play Call of Duty. But maybe this will show it. Yeah, so kind of like this. So you boot up the game. So imagine this is Assassin's Creed Infinity. They will have like separate launchers for booting into Shadows. Then they'll have a separate launcher for booting into the multiplayer game. And then a separate launcher for booting into maybe just a collection of soundtracks that you have, or artwork or art books that have come as part of the collector's editions or something. So they'll have one app that launches kind of everything. That's the idea in concept. Beyond that, it's going to try and integrate those different games into the hub so everything's kind of connected. As Joe Raptor continues on, past games could also be integrated into the hub. So you want to play Unity? It's also there. It's all tied together. The new dedicated home for the modern day story. So If you think back to like the modern day sequences in like AC Unity, where you're walking through the studio, the Animus studio and that type of thing, it could be something like that. It's not clear if it's going to be a launcher like I just showed you, where you just press a button and go into the game, or if it's going to have some sort of gameplay element where there's like, you design your own character for the modern day storyline in a character creator, and then you walk around an in-game like hub, and then you walk physically through portals that boot into the game that you're interested in playing. It's not clear if that's what they're doing or if it's just a launcher. It's still up in the air. Modern day storyline progresses separately from AC Shadows and other upcoming titles, so no modern day story inside the games moving forward. Personally, I know this might trigger some diehard AC fans. I prefer this. I've never been interested in the modern day stuff since like AC3. I think was the last time I paid attention to it. I'm just not that interested. I just don't find it that compelling. I play these games to explore historical locations, to have big, crazy, adventures within times and places long since lost to history. I don't really play them to watch Layla gossip about the inner workings of Abstergo. That's just not what I do. So anyway, I like this. We should be the main story character, with the Animus Hub being our DNA Explorer on our desktop. So that would imply that it's like a physical space. You walk around, you boot into the game, into the Infinity whatever hub. And then from there, you can launch games from your desktop, or you go through doorways to launch into those experiences, or you lay down into the Animus and then it scans you in and you load into Shadows. Not the worst idea. I see this as potentially just layers of, to use Yves Guillemot's words against him, I view this kind of like just added layers of friction, where typically if I want to boot into a game, like I just want to boot, I launch the game here, a little bit of time passes while it's loading, and then I'm playing the game. Boom, I'm playing the game. With this, it sounds like you're going to boot the game, you're going to load, you end up in the Animus Hub, or the AC Infinity Hub. You walk over to the desktop, you boot open the game, and then it loads a little bit more, and then you start playing the game that you wanted to play. And so just all this time was spent doing something else. Now, you might be wondering, why would they need this time? What are they hoping to do with this time? Why would they do that? I think you already know. We'll get there in just a second. Okay. The Animus Hub should allow for more crossover stories like Odyssey and Valhalla, ones we saw at the end of 2021. Yeah, no spoilers, but there were crossovers. Footage shown to Insider Gaming shows users immediately picking up where they left off in game once launching from the hub, eliminating boot up screens. Well, if you're booting into the hub, there still is a boot in screen. It's just you're booting into a hub and then loading straight into the game, but maybe. Rumors suggest that there is an item shop called The Exchange in which you can buy daily and weekly cosmetics for Nawe and Yasuke. I wonder what they're hoping to utilize this little bit of time for. What are they hoping that you're going to do while this period of time is going out? Maybe force you to walk past a little in-game shop that has some skins available. One feature should be called synchronization, and it provides access to projects, seemingly mini battle passes with a narrative that rewards you with cosmetics. The plan was always to launch with Assassin's Creed Shadows, so that is likely now delayed as well to February 14th of 2025. Jonathan, who's a French YouTuber with a good track record, heard about a potential subscription tied to this that gives access to old AC games. He's unsure about new ones, future DLC, and one exclusive skin/item per month, where you will sign up for the AC Infinity subscription for $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever. And then you get skins, probably in-game credits and stuff that you can spend on cosmetics and all of that. Now listen, as I've said at the top of this, whenever you do anything, you gotta ask, what do the gamers get out of this, and who wants this? Do Assassin's Creed fans want a launcher, like real world meta hub for the modern day story where they can have all of their games collected in one spot? I'm gonna give that a maybe. Okay, maybe. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it plays like, but maybe that is cool. Maybe it's something where they can tie different things in, where like you've played all the Assassin's Creed games in the past. Here you can boot into all of them together. All of your save files are saved and backed up in one spot, regardless of platform. There's cool things they could do with it. So maybe. There are other things, though, that I'm not in love with. It sounds like there's going to be some period of time between when you boot into the game and when you're able to get into the actual specific video game that you want to play. In this case, let's say Shadows. And we all know that this period of time, when you are in the hub and then, you're loading and all that, this period right here, this chunk represents prime time for cash money extraction. With an in-game store, you walk right past. With these synchronizations that provide you access to projects, which are like mini battle passes. What that looks like is probably like you assassinate 5 targets from the shadows. You go and you discover 10 points of interest, and then you complete those and you unlock a new cosmetic. So they show you those, and then the in-game store and all that. It's all ways to slow the player down just enough to look at the advertising for the in-game shop where they can spend money, and then let them get into the game. It's not the first time they've done stuff like this. Like the main menus of most of the Assassin's Creed games from the last few years have advertising on the screen. If there's a new DLC, it'll show you the new DLC or expansion. They'll show you the skins on the loading screen when you press start. So this is not new. This is just making it interactive, which I'm sure they've found increases the likelihood of you spending money in it. So I want to be clear, this is not a novel concept. Many games do this, not just AC, but many, like Call of Duty does it all the time too. So this is not a new idea, but that does not mean that I have to like it, okay? So I've asked, like, what is the benefit to me as the player? What do I get from this approach? And I'm still not really sure beyond cosmetics that are unlocked through mini battle passes. I don't understand what the benefit to me as the player is. If there are cool things like save synchronization across devices and stuff like that, tell me. That's a cool feature to have. If there's added things where it's like, I honestly don't know. I don't know what the comparison would be, because I can't think of any particularly useful features that could be tied in here. But if there's something really solid or really good here that helps the player and gives the player something, that should be communicated. But I think it's pretty interesting that from the leaks, it seems like there really is nothing given to the player or nothing that makes this worth the player's time other than skins and the ability to buy more things in an interactive way, I guess, which it's not like, maybe it's not the worst way to sell stuff. Like you're selling stuff in an interactive way versus a more traditional just screen where you buy it. But I would rather just be able to play the game that I bought and not be stressed with it. Remember I said earlier in one of the previous segments about Dragon Age, I was like, hey, they're on their back foot after 2 flops. Lots of negativity surrounding BioWare. So what are they doing? They're launching Steam without a launcher. They're launching, a native app for it. No DRM day one, because they want to make sure you can play the game without any effect to the performance based on your internet connection or anything like that. They are making sure that, they don't have any plans for expansions or DLC. They're just focused on the game right now, just like Larian did with Baldur's Gate. They're trying to do all these pro-consumer things. But this, to me, sounds like a DRM on steroids, where it needs to be connected to the internet for you to boot up to synchronize with the in-game store for whatever is being sold that week. I cannot imagine they would have the balls to do always online for it, but that's quite possible, is that this would be an always online thing, where if you want to boot into Shadows, you have to boot into the AC Infinity launcher, which has to be connected to the internet. Otherwise you can't get into the game. Like I guarantee you, if this is how this works, if these leaks are to be believed, and this is actually how it works, where you boot in and then there's some period of time before you can actually get into the game, I guarantee you within a few days, there will be mods, and all they do is they skip this whole part. It'll be a mod where when you press launch on the game, it just boots straight into the game. Because again, who wants this? Like, what is the benefit to me of booting through this launcher? I don't know. And to be fair, they have not revealed it. There might be some benefit we're not aware of that is not leaked. That's possible. I don't know what that would be. I'm normally pretty good at thinking of ideas for this stuff or seeing where this could go, but I can't think of a feature that would be present here where I'd be like, oh, that's why I'm in. I can't think of a reason to do it. It just seems like something built to try and extract more money out of me every time I try to play the game. Eventually you'd get used to it. You would start to tune this out and you would just start to ignore it. And your brain would just not pay that much attention when you walk over to the little desktop, like he says, and boot into the game. You'd start to just tune it out and get used to it. But again, just because I get used to it does not mean that I have to like it. But what I find particularly interesting about all this is with the delay of Shadows, and therefore the delay of Infinity, what are the odds that they're making changes to this? I don't have any insider info, to be very clear, okay? I don't have any insider info, so I don't want you to think that I do. But I would not be surprised at all if, as part of this delay, they are reevaluating the monetization schemes for this. I would not be surprised if they are like removing or at least delaying this subscription, because I guarantee you, with Shadows right now being where it is and the public perception of Ubisoft being where it is, you guys cannot afford to get greedy right now. I'm telling you, for the love of God, you cannot afford to do this. If this is true, and again, Jonathan has a pretty solid track record. I think he has contacts within Ubisoft corporate, honestly. But if this is true, and you guys, after all this crap with Shadows, try to launch a subscription service for a live service hub for these games, it's going to go poorly. And I think that's why they have not revealed it yet, because they know that the blowback's going to be crazy. If you thought the blowback for Shadows was bad so far, just wait till they do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to rework some of this stuff to take bits of this out. You can add it in later. If the game is really good and you win gamers over based on the quality of Shadows, maybe you can get away with this a month after launch or 2 months after launch when the rest of the gaming public has kind of moved on, except for the hardcore fans that have remained. Maybe then you could get away with it. But I swear to God, if you try to do this, it's going to go badly. As Joe Raptor says, worth noting, of course, is that the recent AC Shadows delay also has them dropping the Season Pass Ultimate Edition items, pre-order mission, Season Pass exclusive mission, etc., which could mean they are rethinking some of the rumored monetization aspects of the Animus Hub as well. These were at least at one point planned, according to trustworthy reporters. I can totally see them put some, if not all of these ideas on hold for now, focus on launch without roadblocks, and then slowly roll these less popular features out later. I agree that is the best way to handle this, because I think the odds of them scrapping it and just walking away from all of this, very, very low. I think most of this is already done. Again, the game was supposed to launch in what, like 3-4 weeks? Like, this is done. Whatever they're doing is done. They could cut some stuff out. They could cut some of this out, but I don't think they're just cutting out the Animus Hub. I think if they want the smoothest launch, they should probably try to launch the Animus Hub later. But like Joe Raptor said on our podcast, it's very likely that this is too far along. It's too tied in. So like you can't just cut it out. This is how the game launches. There's no way around it. So I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated because I just, again, the balls, the balls with all this. To launch it like this would be amazing. It would be stunning if after all this drama, if they still came out and were like, yeah, there's an in-game subscription service, then we have all these paid cosmetics day one and XP boosts and all that. Like, it would be so funny, but also a little tragic, because it would just be, I think, the nail in the coffin for a lot of people with it. You see what's happening now with the discussion around, let me see if I can find it. The discussion around Dragon Age with the DRM stuff. Not having DRM is a fantastic move. And what are we seeing as a result? We're seeing people that are saying like, ooh, I'm really interested in buying the game now because of no DRM, because they took that out. I'm really optimistic. I'm really optimistic now that they've taken that out. It's really impressive. I'm really excited to hear that, because people have been starved for pro-consumer offerings for so long that now they're getting offered it. It's a little surreal. But this is the polar opposite, because again, I don't know how this is supposed to benefit the player. This is like pretty much exclusively benefiting Ubisoft by you spending more money. And if there's ever a feature introduced into a game that offers no benefit to the player, but is purely built around milking the audience for more money, why would we be excited for that? Why would we be interested? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I just, The Animus Hub, we've talked about it for a year or two since it started leaking, and I've always said I just don't understand what the benefit is to the gamer. And I still don't know. There's been more and more leaks, and now, again, it was supposed to launch about a month from today. So it's done, but not a single leak has come out describing something where I'm like, ooh, that's cool. The only stuff I've heard about are like mini battle passes, in-game cosmetics with daily and weekly cosmetics available for sale. Like, I just don't understand how it helps. Oh, now you can tie your other AC games into it. So you can play those other AC games from one launcher and buy skins in that launcher that apply to all of those games. So that's the big benefit. Like, so the benefit is just me spending more money. Again, I don't see what the perk is. I don't see why I should be excited for this. And then other stuff with like subscription models and things. What they're effectively trying to do is they're trying to do what BGS has done, but in a different way. BGS has found a way to turn their single player games into live service games, which have creations and paid mods and then mini paid missions and DLC that you can buy all the time. That's what they want. And the way that Ubisoft is doing it is with cosmetics that they provide, which to be fair are probably of a much higher quality than what you'd find in the creations shop. Will it make money? Almost certainly. Will core, like old school fans be livid? Yeah. Will they feel betrayed? Yeah, I think so. I just don't think that this will help. So all of that to say, we'll keep an eye on it, but I still am at a loss for what the benefit is. And if you're trying to sell me something and you can't tell me why it would be useful to me, I don't think it's that compelling of an offering. If you offer me a car to buy and I'm like, why should I get this car? And you're like, well, because if you buy it, then I'll get paid for it. It's not a reason to buy it. Like, you should really buy this brand new car I have, because if you buy it, then I'll make money. Okay, but what will I get? Like, why should I buy the car? Well, because when you buy it, you'll transfer money through the internet to me into my wallet, and I will have more money than I had before you bought the car. It's like, okay, but again, like, I don't understand what the perk is, you know? Just, there's no point. So I hope personally in my heart of hearts that they're scraping a lot of this out and they are preparing for a revamp of it. I hope that they're not going to just do what's been leaked. I hope that they have a more pro-consumer approach to it, because I swear to God, if they try to do it this way, they're gonna have a bad time. I'll tell you what. He took my thing.